By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and coming now and forever. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. What is success? To laugh often and much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded. It is a fearful thing to love what death can touch. A fearful thing to love, hope, dream, to be and to lose. A thing for fools this, and a holy thing to love. For your life has lived in me, your laugh once lifted me, your word was gift to me. To remember this brings painful joy. 'Tis a human thing, love, a holy thing, to love what death has touched. Adonai roi lo exar, binoteh yarbitzeni, al me menuchot nachaleini, nafshi yeshul velev, yancheni v'maglet tzedek lema'an shmo, gam ki elech b'getz al mavet, lo irara, yata imadi, שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צור רעי תשענת בשמן ראשי כוסי רוויה הכתוב והחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. I've just chanted the words of the 23rd Psalm. Please join me in reading its translation. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Anointed my head with oil, cup. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. When I die, remember me with a smile and laughter. If thoughts of me provoke no love, only sadness and tears, I ask that I soon be forgotten. Give what's left of me away to children and old men who wait to die. And if you must cry, cry for your brother who walks in grief beside you. And when you need me, Put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me in the people I've known or loved or helped in some special way. And if you cannot give me away, let me live in your eyes for a while, as well as in your mind. You can love me most by letting love live within the circle of your arms, embracing the frightened ones. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. My eyes are closed. My heart is quiet. My life is in stillness. Yet, will I not always see you and listen to you? You have always been my treasure, my hope, my promise. Your life has been mine, and my life has been yours. Should it be different now? Is not your life still much of my life? Is not your love still much of my love? Could I ever grow tired of your joys and celebrations? Could I ever turn away from your sufferings and loneliness? Would you mind if I still smile at your foolishness? Remember, I am your mother. If I have failed you, then your sorrow would be long. If I neglected you, your suffering would be unbearable. But from the moment of your life to the moment of my death, I have given you strength, I have given you warmth, I have given you peace. I know you won't forget me, but I want to be remembered most of all in the love you share with each other and with your friends, in the love you share with the lonely and the friendless. Come, let us celebrate together our life's work. Let us put aside our sadness and rejoice in all those priceless moments spent together. Come, let us celebrate your life and mine. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we will remember her. In the blueness of sky and in the warmth of the sun, we will remember her. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we will remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we will remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us, as we remember her.
David, I would just add a word of for Adela, Jane, and I, that the high holidays, we will remember her. And on Passover, we will remember her. And on Thanksgiving, we will remember her.
In Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 1, we read this strange verse. And it says, "A good name is better than fragrant oil, and on the day of one's death, the day of one's death is better than the day of one's birth." And about the second half of this verse, there's a commentary that I want to share with you as we enter into the Chesped, the eulogy. The following scene is described. There's a crowd of people standing on a dock as ships are leaving and entering port. One standing there noticed that the ships leaving port received little response, not much, but those entering port arrived with much cheering and animation. The person making the observation asked members of the cheering assembly why the ship entering port received such a big response and the one leaving such a small response. The person answered, "We have no idea the fate of the journey of the ship that leaves the port, but the ship that returns, we know the nature of its voyage." So too, in one's life, at birth, there is no way to know the nature of one's actions, the paths one might take. But on the day of one's death, we have a full understanding of the nature of one's deeds and the journey they have taken. Recently, in an effort to rectify a clear omission, and I would say failing, the New York Times began printing the obituaries of women whose important contributions should have appeared alongside articles about significant men who had died. The fact that Clara Lemlich, Rita's mom, was one of the many women singled out to receive such an honor should not have surprised anyone. It was no surprise to me when Rita shared her pride at being among the first group of women to receive the Clara Lemlich Award. The award was established in recognition of her mother's leadership in the shirtwaist makers' strike of 1909 and her lifelong activism for social justice. One need not use their imagination to discern the direct link between mother and daughter. Despite her physical stature, Rita was a big woman, maybe larger than life. She gave her energy, her passion, and her love freely. And if you were in her circle, you felt her warmth and care. And I would add, you even felt as if you were one of her children. I count myself as one of those, and I think there are many people here today that count themselves that way. When Adela and Jane and David were young, she devoted significant energies to the PTA, education methods, and the expansion of the school. She was particularly proud that her appeal to the City Council resulted in the building of a new school wing. Rita devoted decades of service to the Queen's Council of the B'nai B'rith. While her beloved Morris, Moishe, was alive, this work was a family affair. He was serving as treasurer when he died. As I understand it, there's now a garden there in his honor, made possible by many friends and family. Rita threw herself into the work of B'nai B'rith and holding the position of chairman of the board up until, at least when we spoke about 6 months ago, she still said she was the chairman of the board. Is that, maybe it was an honorific, I don't know. So
maybe she hoped to be.
These are words shared by one of the many people that Rita encountered on her visits to California. From Doreen Stock, a poem. Message sent in high winds for Rita Margulies. Wow, the wind is whistling here, blowing all the things powerful as the winds do. And you are in it now, Rita. Amazing. How did you, after almost 99 years on the planet, mount into the wind this way? Energy, persistent humor, a homey wit, and laughter that never stopped. Small woman, great personality, entering the storm. I often watched your solemn face on Zoom as we prayed together coast to coast, and your David let his voice soar. Storming must have been a family gift then, letting the songs rise, hitting the soul notes, counseling, making one whole, consoling, and gift of the cleansing rain like the shower of the world, cleaning the car windows, filling the parched places with joy. How I will miss your salty voice in my ear. Well, how's married life? Are you making eggs every morning? Poached, fried, scrambled? I think of you often at the morning stove, creating life, minute by minute, the way you always did. Have you packed your final bags? Are you at the airport now, Rita? Coming once more to sit in that chair next to mine at holiday time? Tears filling your eyes, heart bursting with pride as your son sang us up into holy winds, storming towards God? To add to these words, I call upon David Wanatek and then Adela to share their remembrances.
My name is David Wanatek, and I really didn't have to read that, but it's written here in front of me. I currently serve as president of the Queens B'nai B'rith House, and I've done so at the pleasure of Rita Margulies, because nothing happens at the Queens B'nai B'rith House without Rita's approval. Rita was president of the building for many years, and for several years we were co-presidents. I did the best I could do to keep up with her, but it wasn't easy. By the way, the meetings that we co-chaired, there was a lot of moving of the microphone. It would be up for me and down for her, and up for me and down for her. I've known Rita since the 1970s, when I was brought into Queens Council of B'nai B'rith. It was a powerhouse operation made up of the 40 or 50 men's lodges and women's chapters. We had meetings well over 100 people. They were a real powerhouse. They raised money for B'nai B'rith, Anti-Defamation League, Israel. And in the 1970s, when Russia opened its borders, the Jews were allowed to leave, and many of them came to Queens. And Queens B'nai B'rith had Project Hope, which delivered hundreds of food packages to the new immigrants for the holidays. I have a letterhead from the Queens Council of B'nai B'rith in the late 1970s. Nat Nagler was listed as president, and under ranking vice president was Rita Margulies. I do believe at one time that position was referred to as the ranking woman, and I'm sure Rita hated that. The men often held the top office, but the women got things done, and that was with the leadership of Rita. By the way, she was listed as Mrs. Rita Margulies in those days, back in the 1970s. She could be a thorn in the side of every president, but that's because she asked questions and didn't just accept what was being presented. And I think she truly enjoyed that role. In the late 1970s, Queens Council B'nai B'rith decided it would apply to HUD to build an apartment building in Queens for seniors with limited income. B'nai B'rith had sponsored only a few buildings at that time, and they didn't even have a formal senior housing committee as they do now. But the men and women of Queens B'nai B'rith Council thought they could do it, and Rita was one of the first to support the cause. You have to understand something regarding Queens Council and Rita and Murray and some of the other families. In order to apply to HUD, to even apply to get approval, you had to have a bank account with $10,000 in it. 10 families, including Murray and Rita, took $1,000 and put it into that account to make $10,000. This is 1979. We're not talking about rich people. We're talking about people with real jobs and businesses. $1,000, which in today's world probably is about $5,000. It didn't matter to them. They were that dedicated and determined to get it done. It took a few years, but once approved by HUD, Rita was an integral part of getting the building built. She interacted with the attorneys, the builders, the architects, and was an officer and a member of the board of directors from the building corporations from day one. Once built, 190 apartments. Rita was key in providing the services that we wanted for the tenants to have. She wanted to make it more than just a building, but an environment to support those who lived there. Rita had a very firm idea about being on a board. You had to serve. You were supposed to do something. We had a meeting at the building on February 5th. I lamented at that time with the passing over the last year of Doris Salkoff and Anita Weisbord that the board had suffered a critical loss. It was the women over the years who made things happen at the building and got things done. Little did I know that the leader of those women would soon follow. Nothing was too small for Rita to provide guidance. At our last meeting on February 5th, I had told her what we were ordering for food. She insisted, you have to have fruit and melon. And of course, we did. Next month, in lieu of a third Seder, which we did for many, many years at the building, we will deliver over 200 packages of food to the tenants. We have a very small Jewish population now, and some of the food in the packages, many of the tenants don't even recognize or know what it is, but they're happy to receive it. And of course, who wrote the menu? Rita. The wind isn't helping me. The greatest compliment that Rita ever gave me was that in recent years she would say to me, "David, if you say it's okay, I will go along." Few people have ever heard those words from Rita. My last conversation with Rita was the day that she was leaving the hospital to go home. She said she took the phone from Adela, and the first thing she said to me was, "David, I don't think I'll be attending any more meetings." She's the last of the greatest generation to serve on the board. The people who lived through the Great Depression and World War II. They knew one thing: you give back and help others. It'll take an entire board to fill the hole created by her absence. I hope we can live up to her memory. Thank you.
She called.
Adela.
So about a month ago, my mom, Rita, asked Cantor David to make sure the coffin would be open at her funeral so she could hear the eulogy and the music. It was classic Rita. She wanted to be here with all of us as we honor her in our lives. Well, she might not be physically present, but Rita fills all our hearts with love and affection. Mom was the youngest of 3 in her family, along with her sister Martha and her adoring brother Charlie, who she called Buddy. Living in Brooklyn with activist parents, Joe and Clara, Mom learned to organize, to advocate, to care for others in need, and to dedicate her life to a purpose of service. She also learned how to have fun with playful visits to Brighton Beach and Ebbets Field. Mom went to Lincoln High School and spent a few years at Brooklyn College. She entered the workforce and quickly became an office manager in the textile industry. She worked for many years at a firm called Burma Bibis, which was a men's clothing manufacturer. Never a doubt for Mom that women belong at work, should be paid equally, and hold tremendous value in companies. Mom met my father, Murray, at a party. She was dating 2 men at the time, which didn't please my dad. So Mom made a choice to share her life with her love, Murray, for 38 years before he passed in 1986. They raised a family of 3, Adela, Jane, and David in Queens, mostly in our childhood home in Whitestone. Mom moved to our current home in her mid-80s when she needed 1-floor living. She moved all her possessions and designed her co-op to be comfortable and welcoming for everyone who came to visit. She would remain in this home until she passed last Sunday night. You have already heard about my mom's dedication to B'nai B'rith housing to help those most in need. She was passionate about helping others, adamant that it be done right, and fierce in her demands for the funds to support the project and construct the building well. She honed her advocacy skills well when she led the drive to have a wing added, as you heard, to our elementary school, PS 193. I remember being dragged along to meetings in the same way her mother, Clara, had dragged Mom to meetings. Rita knew that one person, and even more, a team of people, could accomplish anything they set out to do if it had a purpose for good. All of us here today, and so many who have already passed, have been showered with gifts from Rita. Mom had a gift to form long-lasting relationships that sustained her through widowhood, blindness, and loneliness. Couples who traveled widely with Mom and Dad, friends she made through her work, dear friends she made through her volunteer commitments, and friends she made through the lives of her children. If someone was a friend of mine, Jane or David, she embraced them into her life, and she kept those relationships nurtured through endless phone calls to keep in meaningful touch. Mom adopted and loves our spouses, Bernita, Mark, and Marnie. They are her children too, and she welcomed them into our family. So many people are blessed to have Rita as a friend or a second Jewish mother. She has a knack for making each and every one special. Mom was the most generous person. She showered her gifts on her 3 grandchildren, Benny, Danielle, and Michael. You were the love of her life, and she was always there for you to talk, to give you guidance, to tell you how wonderful you are, and to share her deep love and affection for you at every visit and every phone call. You made her smile every day, and she is incredibly proud of each of you. She was just beginning to shower the same gift to her great-grandchild, Ava. Mom is generous with everyone. She always picks up the tab at meals. She bought each of us the things we needed when we didn't have the means to do it. She gives generously to numerous organizations. She gives her guidance to those hurting to comfort them. And she listens when you need someone to hear you. Mom had the gift of gab. She called her family and friends on a daily basis. She could talk. I called her the CBI, the Central Bureau of Information. She was the glue that held our family together, and she brought numerous others into our circle through her love to talk. I will miss my daily calls with her. Mom had the gift of resilience. Through her many losses of her parents, her husband, and most of her long-term friends, she suffered a deep sadness, but found a way to engage fully in the life she had. Perhaps it was her uncanny ability to put her head in the sand, or her ability to take her sadness and help others to cope with theirs. Perhaps the most significant loss she suffered was her loss of vision. Her world over time faded to shapes and images, and Mom had to learn how to read the books she so loved through audiobooks. Because she was such an incredible organizer, she arranged everything in her house to have a permanent place. She could remain independent despite her vision loss because of the organizational skills she had strengthened throughout her life. Whenever the sun is out, her spirit brightens because she can see more, and that brings her such joy. I will always think of her on sunny days, trying to read her correspondence, filing her papers, reorganizing her refrigerator, and sitting on the bench outside, soaking in the warmth of the sun and saying hello to everyone who stops by. Mom could not have remained at home for so long without the weekly visits of Jane and Mark over many, many years. She so appreciated and looked forward to their time together. Mom danced, she played piano, she sang. We have fond memories of sitting around the piano and singing union songs while she played and my dad listened. There's a mockingbird. It's a mockingbird, yes. Mockingbirds take on whatever they're hearing. She encouraged and sometimes forced us to take music lessons. Our Monday afternoon lessons in Greenwich Village ended with a family outing to a local restaurant before coming home. Mom loved cultural activities and with friends went to the theater, the opera, and concerts. She frequently shared a performance or play she especially loved and often bought tickets for us to go. Our first theater trip was in the mid-50s when we went to see The Music Man with Robert Preston at the Westbury Theater. Mom inspired each of us to share that love of culture. I even learned to appreciate and like opera. Mom had the gift of joy. She laughed often and embraced new things. She enjoyed cooking and was famous for her soups. Mom also developed a deeper spiritual belief through her participation in Temple Rodef Shalom in California. She felt that her son David, whose cantorial leadership and voice made her very proud and incredibly joyful. She studied for her bat mitzvah late in life, and she continued to participate in services over Zoom every Friday night. Despite being close to dying last Friday, she woke up, put her hearing aids on, and listened to David's service with a smile of peace on her face. Rita was strong and strong-willed. never exercised a day in her life, yet she lived a full and joyful life, full of deep love and affection. She was sparkling, feisty, kind, fashionable, a real firecracker. We are all so blessed to carry her in our hearts with such great love. Goodbye, Mom. May your memory be a blessing.
For each of us here today, especially Adela and Bernita, Jane, and by extension Mark, David and Marnie, Michael, Benny, Danielle, and Ava. Our dear Rita urges us to remain vigilant, creative, and caring. Rita shared with me the following. I would like for my grandchildren to follow in their grandparents' footsteps. If you find things you like about me and Murray, you can follow in our footsteps too. I think she was saying that to everybody else. She stated that these are values that are important. Family, caring for each other, protecting each other. After all, what is life without family? The concept of family is based on family love. May her memory be for a blessing, and it will be as you bring her works, her memory alive through your actions. And let us say, Amen. If you are able, please rise. El male rachamim, shochen bamromim, lamitzei min hakonekono, lamitzei min hakonekono, tachat kanvei השכינה במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת רבקה בת יוסף וחייקה שלחה לעולמה בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה. אנא בעל רחמים, אסתיריה בשאת כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of Rita Margulies, who has entered into eternity. May her repose be like that of the Garden of Eden. O God of mercy, let her find refuge forever in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Amen. We're going to move towards the burial part of this ceremony, and so I'm going to ask that you move back just a little bit so we have room. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. It only the house of the spirit, which we now lay within the earth, the spirit itself cannot die. Receive in mercy, O God, the soul of our dear departed Rita Margulies. Grant her that everlasting peace which you have prepared for us in the world to come. For no human eye has seen, nor ear has heard, nor mind has grasped it. Still it is our sure inheritance and our everlasting portion, O God. Help us to understand that grief and love go hand in hand, that the pain which loss inflicts is the measure of a love stronger than death. Though we cry in the anguish of our hearts, may we be like children who know that their parent is near and who cling unafraid to the trusted hand. In this spirit, O God, do we commit all that is precious to us to your keeping. Al Mekomah Tzavov Bashalom. May Rita go to her eternal home in peace. Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid timimi balemot lachen samach libi gel kevodi afisari yishkon laveta לא תעזוב נפשי לשאול, לא תיתן חסידך לראות, שחות תודיעני עוד לחיים, עוד לחיים. שבה שמחות את פניך, לימוד בימינך נצח. שיביתי אדוני לנגדי תמיד, כי מימיני בלמות. I am ever mindful of the divine presence who is at my right hand. I shall never be shaken, so my heart rejoices, my whole being exults, my body rests secure. For you will not abandon me to Sheol, or let your faithful one see the pit. You will teach me the path of life. In your presence is perfect joy. Delights are ever in your right hand.
Thank you.
In Jewish tradition, to shovel dirt into the grave is a mitzvah, a righteous act which we do without any hope of reward. With this act, we take on the responsibility of caring for our loved one, caring for our loved one until the very end. Our loved ones deserve to be buried by kind hands, knowing hands, sorrowful hands. You are invited to participate in this mitzvah, a painful act, however one born of love and compassion for those who have meant so much to us. Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. Adonai gives, Adonai takes away. Praise be the name of Adonai. With Job we have said, God, you have given, you have taken away. Blessed be the name of God. May the memory of Rita Margulies be a blessing as we mark that her essence will never leave our hearts and souls. We will take this opportunity to add shovels of dirt into the grave. If you want to participate, please take 3 back of the shovel. You put the back of the shovel 3 times, put it back in the dirt, and step away so someone else can do the job. Folks, once you have engaged in this mitzvah, please stay here gathered so that we can support the mourners in the reciting of the mourner's Kaddish.
Let it be Dave.
The kids are on WhatsApp. Say hi to there's Maya and Shauna.
Folks, on the backside of the page that you had the 23rd Psalm on is the text of the Kaddish Tome. The Kaddish Tome has nothing to do with death. It has only to do, it's a pure doxology, it's pure words of praise. And as we say this text today, I want you to think about how grateful we are to have shared even a sliver of time with Rita Margulies. What a gift God gave to each one of us to have had those moments to share. And even still, we don't have enough words to praise God. And so we join together. Yit gadal v'yit gata shmei rabba. B'yama divra chirutei, b'yamlich malchutei. V'chayekon v'yomechon, v'chayed kol beit Yisrael. V'agalav v'zman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba v'varach le'olam olamei amayam. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha v'richu v'hela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran b'yama v'imru amen. Yehi shalama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, u'yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. And to cap this off, Benny is going to sing that last line for us. Rita so enjoyed music and so enjoyed making music with her family.
Say shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael. Say shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imeru, amen.
As we now prepare to leave the grave, all right. If people want to stay back and help fill in more of the grave, please do. If not, this concludes our ceremony. And may you go in peace and bring Rita's memory with you and have it be a measure of what your life could become from this day forward. Thank you for being here to support everyone and yourselves for participating in this ceremony.
And David, everyone is invited back to my mother's house in Bayside to share some memories and.
If you, Della said everyone's invited back to Rita's house.
212-15